Hi, this is Stephen with Ferris Management Interactive, better known as Ferris MI, and this is our flashcard lesson on how to lay out booths inside of event halls. We're going to start on the left here with the plan control to choose the hall we want. We're going to use the icon objects at the very end of the lesson to show how we can substitute things like tabletops for banquet layouts. The pod control is how we essentially create the group of booths that go in the hall. And the booth control is how we edit those individual booths. And then the exhibitor data has how we save the exhibitor list to a spreadsheet that can be divided up by different priorities. So let's get started. We're going to choose plan control. We're going to hit the down arrow here. We're going to go down to the merit room. We're going to go ahead and click it. There it is. We're going to skip over icons for now, and we're going to go to pod control. And I'm going to see that I can affect the number of booths in a row and the size of the booths and the number of aisles and the width of aisles and the starting booth number, as well as the orientation, whether it's a vertical or a horizontal layout. Now this may seem a little complex, but it really actually super speeds up being able to try out different layouts in your hall and maximizing space. So let's go ahead. We're going to stick with the vertical layout, and we're going to choose 4 booths in a row. We're going to go ahead and leave it 10 by 10. We're going to go ahead and click 4 aisles. We're going to leave the width of the aisles 10. I'm going to change the booth number, starting number, to 300, and this would be the assumption that we have the show is in several halls, and we want the numbering for this hall to start with 300. Again, we've chosen our orientation to vertical. Now all we do is go down to this little black square and just approximately drag it into the hall where we think it may go. And we can always move it around later or right now to fine tune it. So as you see, here is our pod, our group of booths. And in fact, if we see that green halo and then click, we've chosen the entire group. And I can take my cursor and drag it if I wish, or I can take my keyboard and use the up and down to adjust it. Now, all your keyboard commands pretty much will work here in terms of if anybody uses Control C for copy or Control V for paste, delete key, things like that will also work here in addition to the controls we see in front of us. Alright, so now we've got our booth layout. Let's try a horizontal layout. So I'm going to click the entire pod and I'm going to hit my delete key just to get it out of the way. This time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go 12 booths in a row, and I'm going to say 2 aisles, and I'm going to go down here and choose that horizontal layout, and again with the numbering system starting in the lower left hand corner. I'm going to go ahead and drag this square in. I'm going to go ahead and put it pretty close to where I think it'll go, and actually it landed very nicely there. And now we have a horizontal layout. So what can we do with individual booths? Well, if you click twice on the booth, you'll see that now the halo is around the entire booth and there's blue dots around that entire booth. That lets you know that it's the one you're controlling, not the entire group. And you can see it moves around, it drags wherever you want. If you needed to put it against another booth, it locks in place, so you don't have to be exact. I'm going to go ahead and just start editing this thing real quick so you can see typically what you would do. So I would delete this booth, delete this booth. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to resize booths. I'm deleting, whoops. Now I use my Control Z on my keyboard, or I go up to edit and undo and recapture when I make a mistake like that. Very quick. And then, so now I've deleted these booths. And now I've got this booth active, and the reason why I did this is to demonstrate that when you resize a booth, it resizes from the upper left hand corner to the lower right, and so you can be a little strategic about that when you're planning your resizing. When you double click on a booth, it automatically brings up this booth control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a 20 by 20 from a 10 by 10, and it'll resize down to the lower right hand corner. Now if I hit OK, there it goes right down there. Now you'll see that the computer wants to guess what's the best size for this booth. We're going to say that's just too big a number to be on there. I go over here to the right, and there's a layer window that pops up. You'll see it every time there's a new layout, and just exit out for now. It's no big deal. You can bring it up later when you want to work in layers and as you get a little more advanced. So we're going to go to our customization panel, which is this right hand side, and we're going to choose text, and I'm going to go ahead and knock it down to 4 points and just hit the enter key, and now it's in line with everything. So now we know how to resize it. We know how to delete it. Let's go ahead and rotate. I'm going to take this booth right here, and I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to just grab this little blue icon at the upper right hand corner, and you'll see that the outline and the number lets me know what degree I'm rotating it to. Typically what I do is I approximate where it looks good to me, and then I go back to my single booth control, and if I need to go up or down a few degrees, I can just hit these arrows and hit OK. So I'm going to go ahead and set this back to 0, hit OK, drag it back in place. All right, now, so we've scaled it, we've rotated it. Now we can also copy it. So if I were to click this booth right here, and I wanted to make a copy that said food table, and I wanted to make the length 2 feet and the width 8 feet, by clicking this 10 by 10, instead of hitting OK, if I just hit new, it drops a, whoops, let me try it here, hit my Control Z. There, I've got the blue dots all around that one. Now that numbering, or excuse me, that lettering is way too big, so we're going to go back and make it 2 points, and that's pretty good. So that's that. So now we know you can make. Now you can make copies. So the next thing we want to do is sell a booth. So if I want to click on this booth, I see the dots all the way around. I'm going to go down to exhibitor data, and I'm going to go ahead and just type in, oops, Coca-Cola, and then let's say I put for products I put drinks, and for description I put food. You can make these, you can assign anything you like to these. When I hit OK, it's automatically populated this booth. If I click on this one up here, you'll see there's nothing in the exhibitor data. When I click here, there's your information. Once I lay out all my booths and I assign exhibitors to them, if I want to report, it will generate an Excel spreadsheet for me that can be organized by booth number or by exhibitor, and automatically calculates the amount of square footage you have sold and the total square footage in your hall. Now, to recognize sold booths, we want to color code them, of course. So let's go back to the customization side. Instead of text, we hit style, we choose a color, and there it is. If we wanted to assign another color for another type of booth, we just go over there, click on that booth, and hit that. Now, one of the neat features here is, let's say this is a lounge. So if I want to do multi-lines of text in here, I'm going to go ahead to my booth number. Instead of 402, I'm going to go ahead and type in association member lounge. 3 lines is what we're going for. And then I hit OK. Now you'll see again it automatically wanted to say, oh, what's the best, most efficient one-line size? But we can go ahead and go back into text, and let's go ahead and put it back as a 3-point size and hit enter, and there you go. So you can assign those things to that also. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this entire pod and delete it. Now there's lots of other things to learn about this, but this will at least let you figure out how to play around with a little bit and get used to it before your lessons. So let's look at these icon objects. Now the icon objects, you can substitute these for any square that starts out laying out your pod. We have everything from tabletops that give you dimensions based on actually the seating space. We've got bleachers, and we've got picnic tables, and we've got different kinds of rides and lots of rides from the industry. And then we've got our symbols that you may want to put in there, safety symbols, electronic symbols, some of your band areas or kiosk tents. We've even got some RVs that you can put in there. We actually have an RV space that you can color code. This particular one allows you to assign different colors for different classifications, like we do our booths. Anyway, so I'm trying to keep this 3 minutes. I'm sure I went over. Let's go ahead and looking at laying out a banquet space with our pod control. So if I go to my pod control and I want to lay out a banquet space that has what we call an X pattern, which is that crisscross pattern that you lay tabletops on. So if I was to say I want 3 booths in a row, and I've gone up to my icon list here, and I've seen that there it is. Whoops, your 6-foot rounds are 16 1/3 feet in diameter if you take in consideration the chairs. That's 16.66. It's not too technical, but this really helps laying out your tabletop. So 16.66, 16.66, and then I'm going to go ahead and make 3 aisles. I'm not worried when I do tabletops about the width of the aisles because we're setting those as we go along. I'm going to make the starting number 1. And here's where you make your X pattern. It's a stagger pattern. You check that out. I'm going to try to make the spacing between them very close. And these numbers are just relative to the size of the object you're substituting. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take my orientation back to the vertical orientation, but if you'll look at the icon real closely, there's a big arrow going up and a small arrow going down. That means it numbers at serpentine, up, down, up one aisle, side of the aisle, down the other. Okay, I do the same thing. I put my squares in here. Now it looks a little odd right now, it's with the squares, but there's something interesting about the icons. I'm going to click just one. If I have a booth identified and I go up to something icon that I want to replace, right now we want to replace this table, hold down the shift key and just click and it substitutes it. That's all you need to do. Now, the interesting thing is I can take my mouse and grab all of them. So if you have 100 tables, you can put your mouse around all of them. I go back here to that tabletop icon, I hold down my shift key and I click, and there we are. And there's my banquet table layouts. Well, I think that's enough for now. I just want enough for you to play around with. I know I've gone over my 3-minute flash card length of time, and please schedule a lesson with us. Based on this, we can build on this lesson with you and get you going on what your own priorities are. Thanks so much.